Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo. Today on the program, the Commission on Higher Education temporarily suspends its scholarship for incoming college freshmen. The OCTA Research Group believes COVID-19 cases in the country will continue to improve despite the easing of restrictions. And a teacher entrepreneur hopes to bring his health, livelihood, and education agenda to the Senate. Senatorial candidate Carl Balita joins us live. Incoming first-year college students will not have any scholarships under the Commission on Higher Education this year. This after the Commission announced it is temporarily suspending its freshman scholarship applications because of budget concerns. CHED is citing inadequate funding of its student financial assistance programs for 2022. In a memorandum, CHED Chairman Prospero de Vera says regional offices will inform all concerned to avoid confusion among those who still wish to apply. The country logged 989 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday. This is the second straight day and the third day this year that cases were below 1,000. OCTA Research believes cases will continue to drop even as restrictions have been eased in several areas.
This is what we're expecting unless there's a reversal in the trends. So this is all welcome development. We're seeing lower positivity rates, lower healthcare utilization rates, and we're not seeing a province in the country which is still having an increase or having a significant number of cases. The cases are dropping all over the country, not just in the NCR.
He's a man of many hats, an entrepreneur, a registered nurse and midwife, and a licensed teacher. But this former radio man turned founder of a review center now wants to wear another hat as a senator, bringing with him a platform on health, livelihood, and education. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Senatorial candidate Carl Balita joins us now. Carl, thank you so much for being here. We have many things to ask you. And as you just heard a moment ago, I'm sure you know that the Commission on Higher Education has announced that it will be suspending the scholarship application for incoming first-year college students. And they're saying it's because of a lack of funds. Now, as someone who's lobbying for education reforms, how concerning is this for you?
This is very concerning because, we are in an economic crisis. By the way, good morning. Greetings from Isabela. I'm right here in Isabela right now. I'm very concerned about it because we are in the crisis and we need to push education to the next level. Otherwise, we will have more problems ahead of us as we face the post-pandemic situation. Yeah.
Right. It is a big problem. And, there already is what people are calling a learning gap because for almost 2 years, Filipino kids haven't been able to go to face-to-face school. Now, the CHED for Student Financial Assistance Programs, or STUFAPs, it is considered the biggest scholarship program. I think it gives about 120,000 grant per school year to private school students and an 80,000 peso grant per school year to public school students. And, we still have yet to determine exactly how many will be affected. But if you were to be elected as a lawmaker, how do you plan to address budget constraints in the education sector?
One of the roles of a senator is really budget, the yearly budget. And I will really fight for education budget that will not only be benefiting the basic education, but higher education as well. Just like in this situation, you would realize that 82% of the education budget went to DepEd, which is fine with me, but we should not be neglecting the other areas of focalized systems, specifically not only CHED, but also TESDA. Because, TechVoc education is also one of our major priorities to alleviate the poverty of our people. I would be very, very vigilant. I will be very diligent in looking into the specifics of the education budget, which right now is only about 15.7% of the total 5.02 trillion budget we passed in 2022. as a teacher, as the only teacher running in the Senate, by the way, I'm a doctor of education. I will be able to scrutinize really and make sure that the budgets are aligned to the emerging needs of the post-pandemic education. And this is one of the reasons why I'm running RIA.
Right, speaking of post-pandemic needs in education, as we said, there is a gap in learning among Filipino children brought about by the pandemic. As a senator, how would you close that gap so kids could catch up?
Well, I'm as a nurse as well. I'm very concerned about the nutrition of our children, especially those in basic education. It may not be great to you to understand that 1/3 of our children are malnourished, and you cannot imagine a hungry child learning from a great teacher or using advanced technology. So we have to address the most basic needs of our children in the classroom. And I'm very concerned as well about our teacher's salary. Ria, you wouldn't believe that the salary of the Philippine teacher is very low compared with their ASEAN neighbors. The salary grade is only 11, which gives a teacher about 24,000 pesos a month as compared with other professionals like and other uniformed personnel. Ang sa akin at Ria is if we can give good salary to the other professions, we should take care of the salary of the professionals who are actually preparing future other professionals. And it's another very, I just want to go to the basics first of the classroom. The teachers are so burdened by administrative tasks that they are, they're doing even prior to the pandemic education. The administrative tasks have distracted them to what's core into their role, which is actually lesson preparation, instruction, assessments, and so on. We would like to make sure that all the unfilled positions in the plantilla of every school in our public education systems are filled up. Because as it came to me, there are a lot of plantilla positions that are still unfilled, both in the teaching and the non-teaching. This is sad because we have a good supply of good teachers. The implication of giving good salary for teachers is that we will be able to attract the best and the brightest, and we will be able to curb the global demands. That the salary of a domestic helper in Hong Kong by law right there is like 37,000 pesos, and which explains why a lot of our good teachers are attracted to even work as domestic helpers in Hong Kong, because it's to the advantage of a Chinese family to have an English-speaking teacher as a domestic helper. But comparing 24,000 entry-level salary of a teacher, which they thought is already big, but compare it with 37,000 of a domestic helper salary in Hong Kong. Maybe a mother would like to bridge their poverty. The needs of the family would probably choose to go there, and that's the our domestic helpers. And by the way, Thailand is in an active recruitment of teachers in the Philippines, and they're giving an offer of 30,000 pesos, even if you're unlicensed.
Wow. All right. Having lived in Hong Kong, I witnessed that firsthand. I had classmates who had helpers at home who were actually teachers. But you're talking about the salary increase to even that out. What is your ideal salary for a starting teacher in a public school?
The nursing sector was successful 20 years ago to pass on the 15 salary grade level for nurses, which is 37,000. That should be the basis. If we can pay our nurses, which is rightfully paying them a salary grade 15, I think the teachers also deserve a salary grade 15. Masyadong exploited yung salary ng teachers in many campaign narratives, no? A lot of senatorial candidates are also talking about salary increase of teachers. And sa akin naman, ang tagal-tagal nyo na dyan, ngayon nyo na naisip yan. The teachers are nabalita pa, I'm sure, Ria, you also come across the news na yung about yung mga utang ng mga teachers. Ay marami naman talagang Pilipino, maraming utang, pero na-single out yung teacher in that news sometime 2 years ago. And that's because the teachers really are not getting good salary enough for the kind of job that they're doing in education, in Philippine education generally. And by the way, Ria, I'll be very concerned as well about the teachers in the alternative learning system, and the other non-formal, informal setup in our educational system. And more so, we are so concerned about the teachers in the private sector because they are receiving actually much less. Some of them are getting minimum wage. You wouldn't believe it.
Right, and this new pandemic setup, of course, also incurs expenses of its own, and a lot of teachers are paying that out of pocket. But okay, change of topic now. I want to move on to the COVID-19. Did you want to say something?
You know that a lot of our teachers now are doing online teaching of English to many Chinese and Koreans and Thai students as tutor. It's like a call center kind of setup, and that's deviating some of our best teachers into jobs that are not helping the Filipino children, and their value is I would say not being given to the needs of our country.
Right, that has been a long-standing problem. But going now to COVID-19, Metro Manila and several areas are now under alert level 1. Do you support this easing of restrictions now? Do you think it was the right time to do that?
Given the science of it and the numbers we have been observing, I think it's time that we face this coronavirus squarely, and this coronavirus is here to stay. And we should already put into practice what we had been rehearsing about face-to-face activities for our economy, for our education, and for our for our lives.
Right, there's been talk of a pandemic exit or pandemic transition plan. For you, what policies need to be included in this transition plan in order to maintain public health and health of the economy?
Yeah, for the economy, we really have to help our micro, small, and medium enterprises. Out of the 99.5% of our enterprises belonging to the MSME, 89% of them are micro. So, and only 0.5 belongs to the medium. So my point is the numbers you find in the news as decline of or closures of businesses actually hit the micro. We want to support them, make them adapt to the new business models, and so that they can bounce back and thrive, not only survive. After survival mode, we should be going to the thrival mode already. And they need a lot of help in navigating to the adaptive business models. That's as far as the economy is concerned. And by the way, there were many opportunities given us during the pandemic times that should be sustained, just like e-commerce and other forms of business. As to learning, it's about time that we rehearse already. I mean, we stop with the rehearsal. We go to the actual execution of the post-pandemic education, which to me, I don't want to call it, Ria, I don't want to call it new normal. I want to call it better normal. You know why? Because the advantage, one of the very few advantages we got out of the pandemic education is the use of technology, which we were talking about prior to the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. We were talking about Industry 4.0 in education, and we had the 2-year rehearsal already. I think it's about time that we really go into the classroom, apply what science prescribe as the new way of living style, so that we will be preventing the spread of any form of contagious infectious diseases in the future. But let's not forget that there is a major issue of mental health among our students and among our businessmen that I've talked about. And it's about time that we look into our mental health concerns and probably appoint a mental health czar in this country and make sure that the needs of psychosocial intervention amongst our people will be provided as well.
Yeah, that is not spoken about enough. Now, as we said earlier, you are a registered nurse and midwife, and you mentioned the healthcare workers or these frontliners that have been at the center of the health crisis for the past 2 years. But we've also heard stories of nurses and health workers leaving the country again, like teachers, because of better opportunities abroad. How do you think this should be addressed? How would you address it if you were in the Senate?
My legislative agenda includes the Omnibus Positive Practice Environment Act. Positive Practice Environment for Health Worker Act. You know why is that important? By the way, when you say positive practice environment, you're not only talking about salaries and benefits. It's sad because a lot of nurses now, more than 50% of the nurses serving our frontline now are actually under job order, contractualized by this very government, um, offered good salary but without the security of tenure. You know, Ria, if we want to keep them, we have to make them feel good about staying. And that includes a positive practice environment that looks into their career progression. How will they grow in their career in this country or in the institutions that hire them? Also, the benefits, their continuing professional development. These are very important, sources of satisfaction at work. Because, when we look at salary alone, we will not be able to match America and Europe's offer. But, Filipinos who would like to serve the Philippines in the comforts of their homes can be attracted to stay by providing them that security of tenure and environment that would assure that they will grow their career in the Philippines as health professionals. And this is not only true among health professionals. We have to look into our barangay health workers who are playing volunteers, receiving allowances. Maybe it's about time if we really take seriously our health needs, the health needs of our people. And if we want to make the universal healthcare law work, we have to look into the interests, benefits, and satisfaction of our health workers. This is not only true for nurses, because our medical technologists, our radiological technologists, even doctors are getting good offers overseas because this pandemic created an increased demand in healthcare. Right. And the Philippines, being one of the major suppliers of health professionals, really need to take care of its people. And sabi ko nga, alagaan ang mga tagapag-alaga. And by the way, by omnibus, I don't want to see nurses lobbying separate from the medtechs and from the physical therapists, the psychologists, and so on. I want an omnibus perspective of what could benefit the healthcare workers in general, including nursing aides, orderly, BHWs.
Right, everybody across, really across the line. Okay, well, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is Senatorial candidate Carl Balita. Carl, welcome back to the program. I want to talk now about the national campaign. For you, you're currently at number 33 to 37 in the latest Pulse Asia survey. That is quite a distance from the magic 12. How do you plan to improve your numbers with about 2 months left to go?
Yeah, I'm topping the almost 1 million students I have had over 15 years of my review center. My awareness is rather low because a lot of them don't know that I'm running. I still have time, and ang sipag-sipag ng slate namin under Isco Moreno to go around the country and introduce ourselves. I still have time to catch up.
Right. How challenging?
And I trust that my uniqueness as a candidate, as being the only teacher, the only nurse and midwife running, and the only doctor of education running, I think I can differentiate very strategically.
Right. So how challenging would you say this campaign is for you? Kasi kung titingnan natin yung Magic 12, yung mga nandun talaga, you have the veteran politicians, incumbent, returning senators, re-electionists, showbiz personalities, children of senators, so they have that name recall. How do you plan to battle that?
Yeah, through social media and really sipag sa groundworks. This is a very expensive exercise. I was asked if I have $500 million pesos to spend. I say, no, I'm not doing that even if I have it or even if I have a donor to do it. No, I won't because I don't want an ROI discussion in the process. I will just go on the ground, talk to a lot of people in the best way I could and communicate my message and differentiate myself as a very unique candidate.
Right. So, Carl, can you tell us what exactly made you decide to run? And why run for the Senate? Why not another position?
The pandemic itself and the crisis it brings, no? I happen to be a health professional and we have a health crisis. An education professional, there's an education crisis. And I have lived with the micro, small, and medium enterprises and advocated for them. And there is an economic crisis. That made me run. And why the Senate? Because the Senate is where a major influence can happen in terms of policies which have to pivot as well because of the post-pandemic situation we have.
All right, so you mentioned that you want to do a lot of work on the ground, you want to utilize and maximize social media. Aside from that, how else would you describe your campaign strategy so far?
It's when the sector moves for you. The sectors that pushed me to run, the health sector, the education sector, are now behind me in campaigning. So I'm not communicating only generally myself to the people that nanililigawan ko, but the sectors that brought me here are also moving somehow. And that's the differentiation, Ria.
All right. Now, as you said, the professionals, the entrepreneurs, some students, they already know who Carl Balita is. How do you plan to introduce yourself more to the general public or the sectors that are not so familiar with you?
Yeah, through discussions like this, through media. I just had a good debate the other night, and I was trending on Twitter because of that. And a lot of people who did not know me learned about me. I'm going around doing sorties by the market sites, but in the market, and fisher folks and farmers and so on. And I'm getting a lot of help from this sector that I was talking about, Ria.
Right, and as you said yourself, you were at the SMNI Senatorial debate last Wednesday. We want to know what your take is on the heated exchanges between Attorney Luke Espiritu and Larry Gadon and Harry Roque on the issue of Marcoses and martial law abuses being taught about in schools.
The idea was good. It's the essence of a debate. But that happened, unfortunately, during the discussion of children. And ang hindi ko nagustuhan doon is the way it was, they expressed it. Medyo yung heated argument, yun ang hindi ko nagustuhan. But I think the issues, it's really about time we talk about it from different points of view. As an educator, I want to see more respect for each other's point of view and more tolerance to the differences in the way we see things.
Right. Would you be in favor of teaching more about martial law, that part of our history and the abuses committed during that period? Are you for that being put in the curriculum?
I will really have to push for an academic, non-biased, historical perspective and research-based perspective of it, rather than just putting it in public discussion. There has to be well-respected academic group that should be engaged to look into it and tell us once and for all what's the story. I mean, every storyteller has a story, and that's where we differ. And probably we have to do a longitudinal research of that period in time so that once and for all, science and the academe tells us what the real stories are.
All right. Now, you said that you were asked if you had $500 million pesos to fund your campaign. You said you don't have that. You wouldn't use the funds even if you had them. But the fact is, a senatorial national campaign takes money. How are you funding it?
I'm funding it. I'm riding on the slate for Isco Moreno. Like now, I'm here in Isabela, and I'm not spending a single personal centavo for it for the sorties. And my supporters may print 5 tarpaulins and put it in their neighborhood. That's how it really works. So it's my supporters are from the ground and they're taking care of the ground. And I really just wish that this kind of new politics will work in a pandemic situation like what we're having. And I just hope that Filipinos are ready to change the way they choose their candidates or in their bets.
All right, now you are running under the slate of Mayor Isco Moreno. Why did you decide to join his slate in particular among all the candidates?
I have known Isco Moreno since he was vice mayor, where we worked together for a lot of projects already. And Action Democratico happens to be founded by Raul Rocco, an educator, and co-founded by Dr. Jimmy Galvestan, who is a medical professional. Can you imagine the coincidence that I belong to a party founded by persons who actually belong to the sectors that I want to represent? And Isco Moreno, I've seen what he did in Manila, and I really feel that he can, upscale it in a national level.
All right. Once again, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today is Senatorial candidate Carl Balita. Carl, thank you for being here once again. Okay, now, what would your first bill be should you win a seat in the Senate? What is your priority legislation?
Call for education commission, because this will comprehensively look into our educational system, 360 degrees. This is inspired by the fact that we have to review the EDCOM values that we got in 1990. And the K-12, we have to review it altogether. The Industry 4.0 that I mentioned earlier, and of course the post-pandemic education that we're envisioning. I will also propose for that bill that I mentioned earlier, the Omnibus Positive Practice Environment for Health Workers Act. And as to the MSME, I'd like to push really for a micro enterprise commission, which is a little added bureaucracy, which would address the needs of the micro and would incentivize their growth to becoming small.
All right, so those are your priority legislations. How do you think you would fare being a neophyte senator if ever you were to win? How do you think you would manage dealing with more seasoned politicians?
Well, I will bring my sector with me, and there is no reason for them to not consider what I'm bringing in, because I'm not going to sit down there as just Carl Balita. I'm going to sit down there as a registered nurse, a registered midwife, a licensed teacher, a doctor of education, and behind me are the sectors that they just used to call, but this time a sector that sits with them. That's going to be my approach. And I'm a leader. I am a business leader. I'm a corporate leader. I'm an educational leader. I think I can blend with them as an independent representation of these sectors that I choose to represent.
Right, and those are many, many sectors, actually. So we do thank you for your time. Dr. Carl Balita, we do appreciate you being here. That was Senatorial candidate Carl Balita. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Ria Tanjuatco-Trillo. You're watching CNN Philippines.